Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, also, wherever you are joining us from. My name is Sharang and I represent Seed Global Education. And in today's masterclass, we have the pleasure of hosting Schulich School of Business, York University, based in Toronto, Canada. And we are going to be learning a little bit about dispelling the myths on Canadian immigration for business master students. So, any questions about Canadian immigration, especially for candidates wanting to pursue masters or MBA programs, this is the perfect session for you, because we'll be talking a lot about what you can, learn about this. There is a lot of news about it. There is a lot of PR about it, but in this session, you will learn exactly what the rules are, what the pestle analysis of this region also would be in some form or the other. What I request the 194 of you that have joined is to just, go on the chat and let us know which city you are joining in from. You guys must be from different parts of the country in India and also different parts of the world, but tell us which city you are joining in from. Welcome, Shivan from Delhi, Folk Daksh from Mumbai, Delhi, Alifia joined from Vadodara. Welcome. A lot of folks from Delhi and Mumbai, Yash from Noida as well, Punjab, Khyati, pleasure to have you. As we can see, I think we can see a couple of folks from Ghana as well. Kelvin's from Ghana. Welcome. Pune, Lucknow, Hyderabad. Again, a lot of Delhi. So, a lot of folks from the capital of of India as well. So we'd welcome you. I think I've got only a few names. So 225 of us, if you are hearing me, please let us know which city you are joining in from. We will start in a couple of minutes. We're just waiting for some more folks to join in, and Zoom obviously takes some time to connect as well. So I can see a lot of Delhi, Pune, Mumbai here, Vanshika. Welcome to all the folks here. If you have some of your friends that are still waiting to join this session, let them know that we've started, and we will be going forward very soon. I have a quick poll question for some of you. I've got a quick poll question for some of you, and it talks a little bit about immigration, and wanted to get your thoughts on this. Which aspect of Canadian immigration for international students are you most concerned about? What is your primary concern? Is it the study, permit and application process? Is it about maintaining eligibility for the postgraduate work permit? Is it about express entry or permanent residency pathways? Or is it to the current changes in the immigration policies? Or is it around financial requirements? Is it about something else? Or what it is about? We will cover a lot of these questions in the panel discussion today, but I wanted to get your understanding on what are some of the key elements that you are let's say concerned about or worried about. Don't worry about them, because we've got specialists on this session who will help us demystify some of these myths. I'm keeping this on for the next few seconds itself. We have close to 40% of you who participated in this poll. So the folks who haven't, I'd recommend you do that at the earliest as well. Great. I'm going to end this poll right now and share some of the results. A maximum folks are worried about the student permit application process, or the study permit application process, the eligibility for the postgraduate work permit, and for any bit of financial requirements that are there. So I think that covers around 65% of what folks are, in this session, slightly concerned about. Worried, might not be the right word. We've got, some wonderful people in this session today, who I'm going to, have the pleasure of introducing. We've got Anne Welch, who is the Associate Director, International Relations for the Schulich School of Business. She's going to be presenting about, demystifying this. So she is your go-to person when it comes to, learning about some of these immigration rules. She has she's also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant with over a decade of experience in Canadian immigration law, and previously held the role of international student support specialist, directly supporting Schulich's international student community. So she's the perfect person to answer any questions about this. We also have Sophie. in this session, who is the International Student Support Specialist. She's also an Canadian immigration consultant, or RCIC as they relatively call it, with years of direct experience in helping international students navigate the exciting and somewhat overwhelming transition to life in Toronto, Canada, which is obviously a wonderful city to be in. We also have Sarah Thomas, who is the manager for recruitment and marketing at Schulich School of Business. She's been there for 2.5 years. She's going to be talking a little bit about the university, about some of the admission process, the important deadlines, so on and so forth. And we also have Lindsay, Hilcoat, who is the executive director for student services and international relations. She's the one that will also, she's been there for over a decade and a half right now at Schulich. So she's the person that usually also spends a lot of time understanding who's the right fit for the master's or MBA programs at Schulich. We are 350 of us that have joined this session, and you want to hear less from me and more from our wonderful guests. So over to you, Anne. And firstly, welcome and thank you so much for taking our time to talk to us about demystifying the Canadian immigration process.
Thank you so much. And I'm just getting my screen share set up. So hopefully it's all good now. You can see my screen. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that great introduction. I do want to, before I move into this session, I do want to quickly introduce one additional member of our team, Rajbir, who recently joined as an international student support specialist and brings a wealth of experience in Canadian immigration, including over 15 years of experience as a visa officer at the Canadian High Commission in New Delhi. So a lot of great experience that we have on our team to support our international students. And this is exclusive to Schulich business students studying with us. So I'm really happy to be here today. I know that the changes to Canadian immigration policies over the last little while have felt probably overwhelming, a bit confusing. There's a lot of misinformation out there in the public. So my goal here today is to quickly try to dispel some of those myths. And we will walk through a number of the main concerns that students have, and then we'll open up for questions at the end, okay? So let me just get moving here. Okay, so we're going to focus primarily on changes to the international student program. I will spend some time talking about PR pathways, as we do know that that is a major concern for many students who are looking to come into Canada. And we'll also talk very quickly about family visas as well. So very briefly, we're going to go through some of the most important points. A lot of those were reflected in the poll that you just completed as well. But I do want to start, and you'll see this quite often whenever we talk about immigration. I want to start with a bit of a disclaimer. This session is designed to be a general overview. Okay, so it is not intended as specific legal advice. Canadian immigration law is very complex, and everyone has their own sort of unique intersection with Canadian immigration law. So be very, very careful about where you take information from. Be careful about misinformation. There's a lot of nuance to the changes to Canadian immigration law, and make sure that you are referring to official Government of Canada resources. So that's IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. It is also important to note that changes may happen at any point at the Schulich School of Business. Our job is to work with our students to ensure that everyone is up to date around those changes and to support students in their success in Canada. Okay, so moving right along. I want to talk a little bit about the changes to the Canadian International Student Program. These changes have been coming over the last year and have been fairly significant. So the Canadian government has introduced a lot of changes. These changes are designed to strengthen the International Student Program. So despite what you may be hearing about Canada shutting down and not welcoming to international students, the exact opposite is actually true, where the government is facilitating these changes in order to strengthen the program and protect international students in Canada while upholding the integrity of our post-secondary sector in the country. So these changes are very important. And the ultimate outcome and the ultimate goal of these changes is to better, like I said, better protect international students, ensure that you have access to the supports you need in Canada, and that you will have successful outcomes post-completion of your degree in Canada, okay? And so why are these changes important and where did they come from? Over the last couple of years, there has been a rapid and unsustainable increase in the number of temporary residents coming into Canada. And this has created some difficulties within the Canadian system, both from admissions and housing and a lot of other concerns within the Canadian public. So there's also been, at the same time, a rise of unethical institutions, admission practices, and the related ecosystems around post-secondary education, such as unauthorized immigration representatives, unscrupulous education agents. And so we've seen a lot of fraud, or the Canadian government has seen a lot of fraud within the international student program, and a lot of these ecosystems that are taking advantage of international students and international student goals and dreams. So these changes and a lot of what's been happening in Canada over the past couple of years have really highlighted the importance of ensuring that our post-secondary sector in Canada remains world-class, that the value and integrity of the system is supported, and that we are bringing top talent into well-resourced institutions in Canada. So again, the changes are not designed to penalize those who want to come into Canada to study as legitimate students, but to better protect students and the quality of Canada's post-secondary education sector. So it's really important to understand the context for the changes, and to also understand that those who are coming to Canada with legitimate education goals, who are coming into Canada's reputable post-secondary institutions, are not the target of these changes. And in fact, over time, these changes are actually designed to support better outcomes for those particular groups of students, okay? So let's get right into some of the myths that at least we're hearing around the world, and the conversations that we've been having with students to really help you understand that Canada remains a welcoming destination. There are still a lot of benefits to studying in Canada, both short and long term. And so we'll get right into that. I do want to quickly make a note. As I mentioned earlier, Canadian immigration law is very nuanced. The information that I'm providing here today is specific to students who are interested in studying in Canada in a public university in a business master's program. Okay, there's a lot of different ways that that individuals come into Canada to study, and the Canadian immigration law may change depending on what type of program you're looking to come into, what type of school you're looking to come into. So the information that I'm providing here today is specific to students coming into graduate programs, master's programs in Canada's public university sector. Okay, so Canada also has a public college sector. I am not referencing the college sector, and we also have private institutions as well. So I am not referencing those programs, and I am not referencing undergraduate programs. So this is specific to those of you looking to come into Canada to study in a business master's program. Okay, so let's get right into it. So study permits. So I saw that in the poll. That's the #1 concern, that the study permit process is challenging, that you may not be able to get a study permit, especially with the changes around the requirement for provincial attestation letters and so on and so forth. So it is important to note that yes, IRCC has implemented a cap on temporary residents in order to decrease the number of temporary residents to 5% of our total population. And all new most study permit applications, including master's and PhD students, will require provincial attestation letter to ensure that you have been accepted into a legitimate program here in Canada. So a lot of concerns are coming to us around the PAL. So we call it PAL for short, the provincial attestation letter. A lot of concerns are coming into us. I do want to reiterate, the PAL is largely an administrative process, okay? It is designed to improve the integrity of the international student program. It is not designed to penalize students who are legitimately looking to come into Canada to study. It's designed to ensure that those who do receive admission offers are receiving legitimate admission offers, so that you are protected as an international student. The PALs, as they're distributed to the provinces here in Canada, the provinces are prioritizing publicly funded institutions. So publicly funded institutions in Canada are required to adhere to pretty stringent regulations that dictate how our programs are designed, how we teach, things like that. So publicly funded institutions are being prioritized within the PAL allocation process, increasing the quality of the applicants coming into Canada and ensuring that Canada remains an exclusive study destination for top talent. Okay, so that's the goal of the PAL. It is not designed to make the process more onerous for you. In terms of study permits, yes, the study permit process is a very, very important process. And yes, there are refusals, and there are a lot of refusals around the world, depending on where you're, depending on a number of different factors. What I want to note is that the study permit eligibility requirements have not changed. So yes, there's been lots of changes, PALs, all of that. The legal requirements to be issued a study permit in Canada have not changed. And so when you are preparing a study permit application for the Canadian government, it is really important to understand what those legal requirements are and to ensure that you take your time to prepare a very well-documented application. So IRCC is looking at the strength of your profile based on the information you provide and the evidence to support that. So, best tips for success, start early. Okay, make sure you give yourself enough time. Yes, you can go on IRCC's website and you can look at processing times and then ignore them. Okay, do not assume that those processing times are accurate. If you see 3-4 weeks for a study permit from India or whatever it may be, that don't assume that that is accurate and you can apply for a study permit 1 month before a program begins. You should start early and you should apply at least 4 to 5 months, if possible, before the start of your program, okay? Make sure that you take your time and make sure you focus most of your efforts on your study plan. So that's your rationale for wanting to come into Canada. And for students coming into master's programs, the study plan is critically important. So it helps the government of Canada understand what is your reason for wanting to study in a business master's program. You can't just say, I want to come to Canada because it's beautiful and diverse. That doesn't work. You need to have a legitimate academic and professional goal related to your program of study, your chosen program of study. So your focus on your study plan and focus on your financials. Those are the two most critical aspects of a study permit application. And you must also articulate your ties back to your home country so that the visa officer who's reviewing your application understands that, yes, you retain a strong motivation to return to your home country. Okay. Make sure if you're using a representative to help you, so if you're paying someone to help you with your application, make sure, this is very important, make sure you use only authorized representatives who are experienced in study permit applications. There is a significant number of what we call ghost consultants or unlicensed agents operating around the world who do take advantage of international students' dreams to study in Canada and provide unauthorized advice. So there are a limited number of individuals who are actually authorized to provide Canadian immigration advice. And so I would encourage you to make sure your representative is authorized, okay? Within the Schulich School of Business, for students who are studying with us in one of our business master's programs, you have access to our team, which combined, we have over 30 years of experience in practicing Canadian immigration law, and we provide very high level support to students on study permits and study permit refusals, okay? Postgrad work permits. So this is the second the most common worry among those who are coming or interested in coming to Canada. And this is where there has probably been the most misinformation. Yes, there have been changes to the eligibility for post-graduation work permits in Canada. Now, post-graduation work permits have been available to international students upon completion of a program and provide you an opportunity to remain in Canada and work for up to 3 years post-completion. This has been a very important benefit for international students coming into Canada who want to stay and build their careers. And so recently there have been changes. What I want to make very, very clear is that most of the changes to PGWP eligibility is geared towards the college sector. Okay, so in Canada, as I mentioned earlier, we have both a college sector and a university sector. And so most of these changes are geared towards public and private colleges and not towards university level, such as the Schulich School of Business, York University. They're not geared towards those programs. So at this point, and we don't anticipate changes to this, the university master's degrees. So if you want to study in a master's degree at Schulich, you remain eligible for a post-graduation work permit of 3 years in length with no field of study requirements. So if you're hearing all this thing about, oh, I need to study in a program that's on a list of occupations in demand, and I need a field of study requirement, that does not apply to public universities, does not apply to the Schulich School of Business and business master's degrees. Okay, so really important note on that. And importantly, and to reiterate the Government of Canada's commitment to high quality master's and PhD programs, the Canadian government actually lengthened the duration of post-graduation work permits for students completing master's degrees in Canada. So previously, your PGWP was based on the duration of your program. So if you were studying in a Schulich one-year master's program, you would have been eligible for a one-year post-graduation work permit. Within the last year, the Canadian government changed that, and they now said any student who's completing a master's degree at the university level is eligible for a postgrad work permit of 3 years in length, regardless of the duration of your master's degree. So that is a really important benefit for those of you looking to study in Schulich's specialized master's programs. Okay, so work authorization. Work authorization has also come up quite often in terms of some concerns that international students have about their ability to support themselves here in Canada, gain work experience, maybe undertake internships, which are very important to your long-term professional goals. So there are concerns now that students can't work while they're in Canada. So that is actually incorrect. So study permits, when a student is approved for a study permit, work authorization is provided to most international students on the basis of your study permit without the need for a separate work permit. So most international students studying in Canada are eligible to work both on or off campus while you are studying without a work permit. You just use your study permit. And again, to support international students, the Canadian government actually increased the number of hours that international students can work off campus while they are studying. So previously it was 20 hours a week off campus. That has now been increased to 24 hours per week off campus while you're studying. And there is the opportunity to work full-time on scheduled break terms. So that provides opportunities for students to do full-time internships and gain work experience in Canada. Okay, so really important on the work authorization front. Okay. So PR. The other big concern that we have coming in is around PR, and that's very understandable. Whenever I've worked with Schulich International students for over 7 years, and have supported thousands of our students. And so at every orientation, I usually ask students, how many of you are interested in remaining in Canada long-term or permanently? And I would say 99% of the hands go up. We know that this is very important to students when you're thinking about your long-term goals in Canada. And yes, recently, there have been changes to the permanent resident targets and allocations. And so there's a lot of concern around, okay, well, Canada's shutting down PR pathways. So why would I go? I won't be able to stay in Canada long-term anyway. And so what's really important to note is that the changes currently to the PR targets, yes, they have been reduced. So they've been reduced for 2025 and beyond. But this reduction is actually a return to normal levels. So over the last couple of years, the Canadian government, due to the pandemic and all of the things that have been happening around the world, the Canadian government was very aggressive in terms of their PR targets, and increased them very, very quickly. And so now, in terms of relooking at the landscape, the government has said, you know what, let's return back to normal levels. So the goal is not to shut down PR pathways. Permanent residents are still an important target for the Canadian economic strategy. For foreign trained professionals and internationally trained individuals bring in a lot of value to Canada's economy and Canada's society and remain a key target. International students remain a key target and key demographic for permanent residents in Canada. So a couple of important notes about the PR changes to the PR. So at this point, as I mentioned, PR targets are returning to normal levels. There's actually been or the government is going to be introducing a new stream to prioritize in Canada, those who are in Canada with a Canadian experience, whether that is work experience or study experience. So they're launching a new in Canada focus stream. So that means that those who are in Canada, who have studied here, who have worked here, will actually have an advantage when it comes to working towards Canadian permanent residence. So a Canadian master's degree still remains invaluable to long-term Canadian PR goals, okay? And also importantly, a lot of us think, oh, you know what, express entry, that's the only way to get to permanent residence in Canada. And at Schulich, we run information sessions quite often for our students on permanent residence. And I usually ask, you know, how many pathways do you think there are to PR in Canada? And most people say 1, maybe 2 or 3, and are very surprised to learn that there's actually over 60 different pathways to PR in Canada. Right? So what's very important is having access to experts who can guide you through your PR options based on your specific profile, and ensure that you can meet your long-term goals. Okay, so really important to note PR, what we are anticipating with the changes to the international student program is that over the next little while, couple of years, we anticipate that permanent residence will really be more easy for those who are studying within business master's programs in Canada once the levels start to normalize in Canada for temporary residence international students. So these changes, as we were talking about earlier, to the international student program are designed to support better outcomes in terms of work opportunities, labor market integration, and permanent residence pathways for qualified applicants. Okay. And then finally, family members. So another key decision for a lot of you who are looking at studying abroad is, can I bring my family with me? You know, if you're considering studying abroad, having family support is really important. And so it's important to look at the immigration policies for any countries that you are considering. And while there are a number of countries who have introduced restrictions on accompanying family members, Canada continues to welcome family members to come with you and remain with you while you study in Canada. We recognize at Schulich that family members are a really important source of support during your studies, and we do provide support to family members as well. So Canada, you can still bring your family members, which includes spouse, common law partner, and dependent children. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. So school-age children can apply for a study permit, and they can actually study in Ontario, so the province of Ontario, which is where the Schulich School of Business is located. They can actually study in our public school system for free with a study permit. There is also open work permit availability for the spouses of many master's degree programs. So Schulich MBA international students are eligible to bring in a spouse under a spousal open work permit with no job offer required. And spouses often also come into Canada as visitors to stay and remain and support you during your studies. So you can still bring your family members to Canada, and you can expect to receive support with that transition for your family members if you are studying with us at the Schulich School of Business. Okay, and to round out, why should you study in Canada? Despite everything that's going on and a lot of the misinformation that's out there, I hope that this has really helped you to understand the facts as they apply to your interest in studying in a business master's program. Canada does remain a top study destination. We are very diverse and inclusive. Toronto is one of the most diverse cities in the entire world. And these updates to the International Student Program are designed to support you and protect you. And then finally, I just want to end to just mention at the Schulich School of Business, we have a fantastic team who you can see here in front of you as well. We have a fantastic team of experienced and dedicated international student support specialists, over 30 years of Canadian immigration law practice. And we provide a comprehensive suite of services. And this is really important. It's, your academics and the program you choose are incredibly important, but ensuring supports for yourself and your family so that you are successful both academically, professionally, and personally is critically important. So at Schulich, we provide regular study permit webinars, comprehensive support on study permit refusals. So yes, we do have students with study permit refusals. And yes, we work very closely with our students to help overcome those refusals, and a number of different services, as you can see on your screen in front of you, including one-on-one advising to support your immigration goals in Canada, especially as the changes are coming through. So lots for you to digest, and I look forward to the questions. I know they're coming in, so I look forward to having a bit more of a discussion on this in a couple of moments. So thank you for your attention, and back over to you.
Thank you so much, and I think that was really helpful. We learned so much about the Canadian immigration process and also how Schulich, and the overall York University actually helps prospective students, current students, also throughout this journey. And that was really helpful, very beneficial. I see a lot of questions coming in, a lot of questions on the chat on the personal level. Also a lot of my doubts have been cleared about this particular process. I'm going to invite Sarah Thomas. She is going to talk to us a little bit. Yes, Sarah, will be talking to us a little bit about, Schulich School of Business, this wonderful university, as part of York University. What are some of their programs? What can students look forward to? She'll cover a little bit about admissions, eligibility, careers, and a lot more about Schulich School of Business. Reminder for anyone, if you have any questions, don't use the chat, use the Q&A tab. There is an army of people that will be answering your questions, including Sarah, including Lindsay, Rajbir, and as well as Sophie. Thank you so much for folks who joined us. And till Sarah gets her slides up, which she has now, over to you, Sarah.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Are you able to hear me okay? We had some
Yes,
issues
yes, we
before.
can.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all so much for joining us again. And thanks, Anne, for that really in-depth explanation of all the questions that we are seeing coming in. So I really just wanted to take a couple minutes of your time to introduce you to Schulich specifically, even though this is a very broad webinar. We wanted to introduce you to some of our programs and just give you some information for those of you who may be unfamiliar with Schulich and Toronto as a whole as well. So for anyone who's not familiar with Schulich or York University or Toronto, Ontario, so we are the business school that is a part of York University, and we are the third largest university in Canada, and we are located in Toronto. So Toronto is Canada's largest city in the province of Ontario, and it's actually the fourth largest city in North America. So it's a major finance hub, major business hub in North America, and it has actually been ranked as the #1 city for career women. So it has a very fast developing tech industry and a booming arts and media industry as well. So we are located just 30 minutes north of downtown Toronto. So you see the big CN Tower there on your screen. So we are about 30 minutes away from there. And we have everything from the tiniest startup to the largest multinational here. So we're very fortunate to be located just near the heart of the city, where you really do have access to everything the city has to offer you at your fingertips. And it really is also a great place for you to not only study, but to also work after you graduate, because it is really one of the most culturally diverse cities that you will ever live in. So over 50% of people that live in Toronto were actually born outside of Canada, not just born outside of Toronto, outside of the actual country. And with that, Toronto is actually recognized by the United Nations and the BBC as the most diverse city in the world. So our population is made up of a very diverse group of people from all different countries, different cultures, and different backgrounds around us, which really allows us to experience great international foods and festivals and events. And what's also great about this is that you'll really experience diversity not only in Toronto and Canada, but also right in your classroom at Schulich. And so to get to Schulich specifically, oh, let me just see here what, there we go. So Schulich is consistently ranked among the top business schools in the world. And we are currently ranked #1 in Canada by The Economist. And we've also historically been ranked #1 by organizations like Forbes and Corporate Knights. And those rankings really have a lot to do with the high quality of our programs. So we have amazing faculty, strong industry connections, and really strong career outcomes for our graduates. And one of the key features of our programs is really that flexibility and diversity that we offer. So we really like to give our students the ability to customize their program experience to their interests and their specific career path. So you're really getting the most out of your program to align with your future career goals. And going back to that diversity that I mentioned in Toronto, in Schulich specifically, about 55% of our students are international students, and they come from just over 45 different countries. So you will find yourself in a very diverse, but also a very inclusive community, that you're surrounded by people from diverse backgrounds, giving diverse perspectives. And there's also lots of opportunities for you to have that personal growth and development even outside of the classroom. And we often do receive questions from applicants, as we are a business school offering business graduate programs. They ask, do I need to have a business background to be able to apply? And the answer is no. So about 70% of our student population actually comes from a non-business background. So we welcome diverse backgrounds from all different industries. We have people in healthcare, sciences, engineering. So you do not need to have that business degree to be able to apply for our master's programming. And then I wanted to touch on our alumni network as well. So we have 36,000 active alumni from 90 different countries across the globe, and they're really there to help you. So anywhere you travel, you are more often than more likely to run into somebody from Schulich, and they will always be there to help you. So we do have an alumni relations office, and they're able to connect you to alumni in your area that can really mentor you and also introduce you to their network as well. So this is a great way for you to get set up with a network even before you step foot on campus here. And by networking with the alumni and the candidates in the program, we also have different industry professionals that we have through what we call our Center for Career Design. They are allowing you to attend different networking receptions, and all of these different opportunities help you in building that strong network for you to come into the program with confidence and also further build that network for when you graduate and move into your career. So this is one of the most valuable resources that we find from our master's programs. And so I wanted to touch quickly on our master's programs. So at Schulich, we do have a very diverse range of programs available, as you can see on your screen. So these range from the undergraduate level. So we do offer one undergraduate program through to the graduate level to doctoral level programs. And these really cater to diverse career paths and industries. So our graduate options include, of course, our flagship MBA, which offers 17 different specializations for you to choose from, which really allow our students to, again, customize their experience in the program and take a deep dive into an area of their interest so that it really aligns with their future career goals. The MBA also offers joint degree options. So you can see here on your screen that we have joint degree options with our law school, as well as our Masters of Fine Arts and Masters of Arts programs. So lots of options available. We also have our Tech MBA program. So this is the first and only of its kind in Canada, and it really is designed to evolve at the speed of tech. So its curriculum is intentionally dynamic and it adapts to the latest advancements and trends that really are shaping the tech industry today. So we really want to ensure that our students are always equipped with the most relevant information, most relevant knowledge and skills to be able to be successful in their future careers. And a key hallmark of many of our programs, or all of our programs actually, is that emphasis on experiential learning. So our students engage in real world assignments. You have the option to participate in case competitions. We also have internships that are available. And these are great ways for you as international students to really get a strong foothold in the Canadian market before you even graduate. So you have that work experience in Canada, again, before you move into your career. And both of our MBA programs, so the regular MBA program and the tech, are 16 months in length. So the regular MBA has 2 intakes per year, so one in January and one in September. So for those of you that are interested in applying to our MBA program, you'll be applying to the September intake for 2025, as well as the Tech MBA program that only has one intake per year, and that's every September as well. And then moving on to those who may be seeking more focused expertise. So we do offer 9 different specialized master's programs. And these, as you can see on the right-hand side, really cover topics in many different unique areas. So all of our specialized master's programs are 1 year in length, and they each have 1 intake per year. So the programs that you see with a little asterisk beside them, those are the programs that begin every May, and the other ones begin every September. And so for those of you who may be interested in these specialized master's programs, I would encourage you to go to our website just to make sure that you are looking at the international application deadlines so that you're getting your application in on time so that you have enough runway to apply for that study permit that you'll need to come to Schulich. Okay, and so for next steps, you can scan this QR code here. And so this is going to take you to our website as well as our events page. So we did a very high level explanation of our different master's programs that we offer, but we do have very specific info sessions that we host monthly or even bi-weekly for some of the programs to allow you to learn in depth about each one of these programs depending on your interest. So you can scan that QR code there. We'll also send this out in an email with the seed follow-up. Everyone who is in attendance today will also receive an application fee waiver. So all of our programs require an application fee to apply of $150 Canadian, and this will be waived for all attendees today. So all you need to do is apply to the Schulich School of Business, depending on any program that you want, using the same email address that you used to apply or register for this event today. And for our students who are interested in the MBA program, I'm highlighting these deadlines because they are coming up. So our regular MBA application deadline for international students is January 24th. So that is next Friday. And then we have our Tech MBA deadline of January 29th. So I would encourage you to start your applications, reach out via our web inquiries, or you can even contact us at admission so that that email that you see at the bottom of your screen there, and we will be able to help you and answer any specific questions that you may have. And thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that wonderful presentation. We are going to keep this slide for the next couple of minutes. For anyone who is keen to apply to Schulich, I think scan this QR code, you will get some of the information, and you can also get an application fee waiver. Since there are 457 of you still in this webinar wanting to know more information about Schulich or the wonderful topic about demystifying Canadian immigration process, we had a whirlwind of questions in the chat box and in the Q&A tab. So thank you so much for each and every one of your questions. There are about 50 odd questions, now that we can see. A lot of these questions, I think 30 questions have already been answered by the wonderful folks in the panel. So thank you, to the panelists for answering these questions patiently. There are certain questions that are not answered, and I'm going to try and, get some of these questions to the panelists. And, for starters, I think there's a question by Kashish and Shivam and a couple of more questions. And I know you've covered this a little bit in your presentation, but for folks that might have joined in a little late, to understand a little bit about the study permit and how long it is typically valid for. Is it, what's the difference if it's a 1-year program? What's the difference if it's a 2-year program? If you can throw some light on that.
Sure, yeah, happy to. And also happy to invite both Sophie and Rajbir to join and help answer some of these questions. Thank you for the support in the chat. But with respect to study permits, so study permits are typically issued for the duration of the program that you're studying in, plus 90 days. That provides a bit of a transition period for those who want to remain in the country. The only caveat to that is if you have a passport that's expiring before the end of your program, then unfortunately your study permit can only be issued to your passport expiry. But yes, typically they're issued for the duration of the program plus 90 days to provide a transition period for international students. Oh, I think you're still on mute. Sorry.
I was on mute, sorry. Thanks so much for that. And I think, Sarah, the next question is around academics. And I know that, previous academics leading on to admissions to Schulich is one of the critical factors in determining, possibilities of admission. But academics is only one factor compared to the overall holistic admission process. So 2 questions here. Could you define what a holistic admission process is? And, there's a question by Sahil around if there are students that might not have particularly done well in a couple of semesters or a couple of subjects in a semester, could they do anything about it? Is it possible for them to, you're not Harry Potter and you don't, you can't go back in time and change something that's happened. But, going into the future, can you do something, for people that academically might have struggled in a couple of subjects in their undergrad?
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is a great question because we really do take that holistic look at all of our applicants. So our application process does reflect that. So yes, of course, your academics are important. So every program that you apply to will ask for an undergraduate degree in any discipline. But we also look at your work experience. We look at any extracurricular activities, leadership experiences that you have. So even if you have, let's say, maybe some weaker grades in different areas, there are ways that you can also strengthen your profile based off of those other key components. So if you are 8, 9, 10 years out of your undergraduate degree, and let's say you didn't do very well in some of those courses, you may be able to speak about your work experience in those areas that really will strengthen that profile. In addition to those weaker grades, there's other ways that you can show us your academic capabilities by taking a GMAT or a GRE test. You can also show us that you've done other courses, let's say at an undergraduate level or even higher if you've done a diploma, to really strengthen those abilities and show us that you're determined to show us that you have strength in these different areas. As for that also holistic approach, there are different aspects to our application that really allow you to explain any of those, let's say, weaknesses that you think you have in your application. So as part of the application, there is an essay where you can take advantage of this to address any of those weaknesses in your academics, in your work experience. So I always say, never let us assume, always tell us. So if we see any gaps in your work experience, tell us why. If we see lower grades because maybe you were sick or someone in your family was sick, and you had to really concentrate on that outside of school, tell us that, or we will just assume that that's your academic capabilities. So we want to hear from you and really get to know you as that whole person, just outside of how well you do in your studies.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for that, Sarah. I think the next question, I'd like to direct it to you. I think that is also a little close to your heart, if I'm not wrong. There's a question around the difference between the traditional MBA and Schulich's newly launched Tech MBA program. So, what exactly is the difference, and what kind of profiles do you see doing a Tech MBA versus doing a traditional MBA program?
Yeah, that's a question that we get a lot just because, again, it is a very new program and it's the only one of its kind in Canada. So, you have heard me speak about our flagship MBA, which is a regular MBA that many universities offer. And we have 17 different specializations within that MBA program for you to do that deep dive into a different area of your interest. Whereas the Tech MBA, your specialization and your area of interest is really tech. So even in the regular MBA, you will be learning your core courses, such as your marketing, your finance, your accounting, and you'll still be learning all of these core courses in your tech MBA because it's still an MBA, but you will have a very strong focus in technology. So yes, you're learning finance, but you're learning about e-commerce, you're learning about fintech, you're learning marketing, but you're learning about digital marketing. And so you're really taking that deep dive into how to implement technology into our everyday lives, into our businesses, into our strategies to really optimize solutions so that we can be strategic leaders. And so for the backgrounds in the Tech MBA program, we're not looking for people who are into coding. We're not teaching you coding. We're not teaching you software development. We're teaching you those leadership and managerial skills to be able to connect the dots and bridge that gap for senior leadership into those people who are doing those more technical jobs. So we have people, again, from all walks of life. We have lawyers, engineers, we have people who come from science backgrounds in that program, because really every company now is a tech company, whether they like it or not. And so we're equipping our students with the knowledge and skills to really keep up with the pace of the ever evolving tech industry that our corporations that are hiring from our students are really looking for.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. I think the next question, obviously we'd like to open it to Sophie, Rajbir, but also obviously to Anne. Um, there are some questions around the current political scenario, which is obviously in the news, and then quite a bit of speculations around how is it going to change for candidates looking to come into the city. So we spoke very briefly about pestle analysis while taking decisions, in this case. How do you think is the Canadian political scenario going to impact decision making on international student mobility?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wish I had a crystal ball to really help predict exactly how things will play out. But an important note, nothing in Canadian immigration is ever 100% guaranteed, right? Nothing in life is 100% guaranteed. And so what is really important is making sure you have access to expert guidance to help navigate changes. That's number one. But to the specific question that's being asked, yes, we're undergoing a political shift right now. Our prime minister has indicated an intention to step down, and there's a leadership race going on, and an upcoming election is what we're anticipating. I've been working in Canadian immigration landscape for well over a decade. And for all of that time, immigration has been a key target or key priority for Canada's economic growth strategy. We've been talking about it over a decade ago, how by 2026, which is next year, 100% of Canada's economic growth will be related to immigration and immigration trends. Okay, so whatever government that comes in, and however those political shifts happen, still has to grapple with the reality of Canada's demographic. We have a small population, a very large country, and our economic growth strategy. International students and all of these changes, and I want to reiterate this, all of these changes, including to PR pathways, including to the international student program, are designed to support Canada's economic growth strategy by ensuring that we have top quality applicants coming into the country who are well designed to fill the roles and the economic priorities of the country. So any of these political shifts, yes, there might be nuanced changes for sure. That always happens. There might be small changes here and there, right? Like there may be new programs brought in, changes to eligibility requirements, things like that, with the ultimate goal of ensuring that their international students who are well qualified are a key target and have options to remain in Canada long term. So, I mean, that's kind of the best way that I can frame it, is that in all my time working in Canadian immigration, and I think Rajbir and Sophie would probably agree as well, that the goal of the Canada's immigration program is to support our economic and social fabric, to ensure our economic growth. And there is no intention and no signal from any government to suspend immigration. It's critical to our country's growth.
Absolutely. I think
So
that makes a lot of sense. Please,
I
please,
would
Rajveer.
just like to add to what Anne just said. So the basic mandate of the immigration minister is in the coming time to reserve 40% or more of the PR slots that are available for people who will become permanent resident to be reserved for people who have already studied or worked in Canada. And there are chances that this number would increase further. So the reservation for people who have already known Canada, who have been acclimatized to what Canadian culture, study, or work environment is likely to increase. So and study, work, and settle has been the motto of Canadian immigration forever. And one last point, which I would like to dispel any concern if any of the Indian students or anybody from the subcontinent, is that Canada does not make any specific policy for any international student of a particular country or of a particular area. The policies are applicable to everyone. Somebody coming from Australia or somebody coming from UK would require the same have the same requirements as somebody coming from India. So nothing has changed. There has been a lot of grapevine, a lot of bad information which has been going out. And I personally feel that more than half of it, or I would say more than 80% of it, is not true. So don't believe what you see on the reels or TikTok or social media. Things have not really changed. It's just the perception which has changed.
It is just the perception. I think that's something that can take back from this session, if not any other, wonderful information that, some of our colleagues here have shared. Next question, a little bit of it, I could address it to Anne, Sophie, or Rajveer, but also to you, Sarah, around entrepreneurship. I think there are people that want to come to Canada, but also look for starting a new business. So, just from a legal perspective, from an immigration law perspective, and what are some of the resources slash challenges that candidates can face? And then Sarah, right after that, how can Schulich help these candidates, with some entrepreneurial ambition? So, like, Anne, if you'd like to start off.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that's a fantastic question coming from someone who's interested in business education in Canada. That is really kind of part of the goal. And at Schulich, we have a fantastic entrepreneurship focus and a Schulich Startups Hub and whatnot. So we do a lot of work with students around startups, and a lot of our students are international. So more than about 50% of our graduate students are international, looking to start businesses in Canada. So I'm not going to get into the business side of it in terms of registration, like all of that side, but from an immigration perspective, yes, when you have your post-graduation work permit, that provides open work authorization, and a lot of students do start building their businesses on that post-graduation work permit, or maybe even starting to work on them during your master's degree. So your study permit, as we mentioned, does provide work authorization and does provide the opportunity to engage in some type of work opportunity. So students have immigration legal opportunities to start a business in Canada. I would always recommend that when you're doing that, it's really important to consult the experts around, setting up, registering a business. Do you need to have a Canadian partner? Like all of those pieces and that nuance. But from an immigration perspective, yes, work authorization does allow for students to start businesses. There are, and I'm not going to get into it in today's session, there are also PR pathways that are designed to support startups. And so those who have innovative business ideas with global reach can take advantage of the Canadian Startup Program. So there's a number of different pathways to support that as well. Sarah.
Great. Yeah. And so as as Anne mentioned, so we do have a ton of different opportunities available on campus for students who are interested in entrepreneurship. So this ranges from specific departments. So we do have an innovation and entrepreneurship department that is specifically dedicated to that for our students, which is also woven into our curriculum. So whether you're a part of our MBA program, we do have an entrepreneurship specialization that you can take advantage of to really do a deep dive into that area. We also have what we call a graduate business club, which is essentially a graduate business society where we do have a student run government with tons of different clubs underneath this government, where we have a entrepreneurship club, we have an innovation club, and these are clubs where you come together with students who are from all of our master's programs, and you do different networking sessions, workshops, different events. They bring in panelists. So you have that network of entrepreneurs in that space as well. We also, again, as I mentioned, are about 30 minutes from downtown Toronto, which is a very, very large entrepreneurship hub with many incubators and innovation spaces. Within our Tech MBA program, we actually do have a partnership with something called 111. And so this is essentially the home to the most promising technology companies, and they offer space to different entrepreneurs to really support and scale their different companies. So we do have these different connections with our internal Schulich Startups program as well. So this is a startup program and organization that is actually home in-house at Schulich. And so within these different departments, you have a wealth of possibilities to be able to be supported in your entrepreneur ventures.
Wonderful. I think we've covered a little bit around career opportunities, for people that want to get into, the workforce. We've spoken about entrepreneurship. We've covered a lot and more about demystifying myths in the Canadian immigration process. We've covered a lot of answers. I think, there are some questions that are unanswered, which were already part of the initial presentation, either by Anne or by Sarah. So we will be sending you the recording of this session with the permission of my friends here at Schulich School of Business, where for folks that joined late or missed this session, if you're watching this live, you have this recording that you can refer to, and we'll also put some of the important contact information of the admissions team or the student support team at Schulich School of Business, York University in Canada, to remind everyone, especially one thing that Rajveer said, that there's a lot of uh, noise in the media or on social media about Canada, and they're talking a little negative, but uh, this session, should answer some of the technical, legal immigration policies that are, what the truth is and what Canada has in store for international students. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the 250 of you that are still patiently in this room. We've spent a little over an hour. We've gone 5 minutes more than what was promised. So sorry about that. And also thank you. And also thank you to the wonderful panelists and Rajpreet, Sophie, Lindsay, and Sarah as well. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure hosting you, and we will see you soon. And if you've got any questions about Schulich or Canada, my friends are surely going to help you out in some form or the other. Thank you so much once again, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Bye.